What's up, everybody? You've got Brento back again for episode 5 of Brentocast. Hey, we made it. We should be getting propagated out to the rest of the internet, iTunes and whatnot, places you check out your podcasts. Behind me in the cut today is Ghosts and Goblins on the MAME cabinet. Some people will be asking me that for sure, since I know you guys love old school arcade games. Man, I had this really deep, introspective, talk planned for episode 5. I don't know, man. I'm on such a high note right now. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to spin that off. Basically, I was sitting around last week watching some other podcasts, listening to a few others that are just audio only, and thinking how human beings have a tendency to want to sound wise. And I think actually this is what gets a lot of men into the ministry, is that they really want to sound like their life experiences sort of matter, and maybe at home their opinions don't seem to matter. So you see a lot of the same type of guy, semi-professional, successful but not too successful, good talker, but somebody that maybe has a little bit of something in the past with the wife. I don't know, either infidelity issues or maybe just talks to him a certain way, doesn't make him feel like a man. I know this sounds really kind of mean, but like I just sort of see this pattern over and over and over with dudes that sort of put themselves, I don't want to say on a pedestal, but in a way that's what's happening, putting themselves out there to be some sort of wise character, and some of them aren't. You know what I mean? Like, and they, I don't know, tend to like want to talk up their passion for something, but when you hear them talk, it sounds anything but passionate. You know what I mean? I always thought that like real old school, like called to preach preachers don't, accept that role with open arms, because they know how hard it is. And being like a pretty deeply religious guy, I cannot turn off like my spirit of discernment when I hear certain things. Now, at the end of the day, if these people are buying people's groceries and doing nice things for those that don't have, it's a positive thing regardless. I just ask myself how so many guys do pop-up churches and get into like these different kinds of charitable things and whatnot. And at the end of the day, as long as the people are getting help, I don't really care what their motivation is, but it's just an odd thing that so many of these people, I go, man, look, they're doing really good stuff. But it feels a little on the hollow side. And here's me not doing really anything, and I'm judging that. And of course I immediately feel guilt for judging that, because I'm like, who am I to say, really? Ultimately, spirituality becomes between you and your maker, whoever you believe in, I guess. But I don't know. It's just kind of an odd thing. And I find it a little bit, cringe is not quite the right word, but when I see this over and over, I start feeling a certain kind of way. And that means absolutely nothing. Don't even know why I included it. Moving right along, here's what I'm up to this week. Just had an amazing rehearsal with my acoustic band. Tony and Harrison were here, put some polishing touches, and completely re-recorded one song on the acoustic album 5x5 that we're going to be releasing probably in a little bit of early parts of next month. But they just left, and we had a fantastic session from about 1 to 7:30 or so. So, wow, just kind of like buzzing on all we got done. And we're trying to work out the methodology whereby we will be able to record ourselves in our live performances, and ultimately the idea is down the road, like a Bowers Foreman Live at Loafers and Legends album would come from multiple performances, where we could just take the best of the best performances. But I got a methodology with this current recording machine that I'm actually recording this on, which, by the way, is the Zoom R20 multi-track recorder, where I can not only play out loud through the guitar amps and everything, but also be line in with everything, so there's a clean signal to work with, and pre any effects. So we'll be able to add effects after the fact, and it'll sound like we had set up and recorded, here in the studio. And then we can just control how much crowd noise would be involved. But being a recording nerd, that's just one of those things. As always, I have many projects moving. Still need to get back to the Ruby Ace thing. Which still got files sitting there waiting for me to set up, and It's like we have 3 studios in one, and what we're driving to is a big board over there for Studio One, but it's so much faster and quicker for us to bypass that with other interfaces that we've been doing that lately. And then, of course, working up pre-production on the Brothers V Hill, their album. And that's actually coming down to shoot really fast, and I screwed up last week and actually missed a recording date. In the 25-plus years I've been recording at Snug Record Studios, that's never happened to me. Had some extraneous things going on with family drama. My brother somehow got an infection in one eye, and I had to take him one day to the VA up in Salisbury, so I lost my day off on that. Not that I mind doing it, of course, but things got a little twisted, and then I found myself recording that night, and then Eddie texts us, "Hey, when you guys going to get here?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So we totally missed that date. I digress. Moving right along. Did produce probably a shorter than normal weekly vlog with Delilah this week, but she was wonderful as always. We kept her a couple nights, and it was super fun. And she's just a sweetheart. I love spending time with her. Did some riding around in her little battery-powered Minnie Mouse car, and had her at the house quite a bit. So it was good fun. And we were really into watching Simon this week on Netflix, and then I think something called Creature Cases. These 2 little animals that do detective work for crimes with other animals. As always, the cartoon Puka plays heavily in our rotation. Haven't really had much time to do much YouTube or TV watching this week, so I will just say that in lieu of a movie minute this week, I will talk about some of the films that I've been ripping to digital from my massive VHS graveyard, which now has grown to include almost probably 800 or 900 tapes, maybe as many as 1,000. I haven't counted exactly. Definitely pulled this film, which is probably the best Dracula movie adaptation of Dracula that I've seen, starring Jack Palance. It's super creepy. I find him even creepier than the late, great Christopher Lee. Probably the most well-known Dracula. So I was walking past the shelves today actually, and I looked and I saw this cover for a film called Man on Fire. Now, most people are familiar with Denzel Washington's awesome movie Man on Fire, whereby like a presumably CIA trained guy gets into private protection and his charge is kidnapped. And I realized that it was a remake, and the original was made with Scott Glenn, who's also an incredible actor, and I've never seen this one, so I ripped it today. I will be talking about that later, and I will be watching that very, very soon. Still talking with my co-host about how to proceed with the planned VHS Graveyard podcast. There's something called the Gag Me With a Knife podcast I've been listening to. Old school horror VHS review podcast I like. And then also a really cool podcast called the VHS Archive with Quentin Tarantino and one of his friends. Listen to the first episode. I mean, the guy's such a film nerd. You always learn something when you listen to him, so it's pretty cool. And it just gets me excited about working toward getting those VHS Graveyard podcast episodes going. And we'll see. I'm going to kind of perfect how I'm disseminating this. I don't want to pay for hosting since I already have like my own web hosting. I don't want to pay for strictly podcast hosting, and I want to include the video every time. So, it's a little bit more of a setup, but I have some accoutrement that has helped me get the set ready, and it will be a set that looks the same every time, and it won't just be me in front of this wall. So, of VHS tapes, I should say. I am still trying to get rid of some media to create space for more VHS. My big box VHS, I'm going to let some of those go. And I think I'm going to get rid of all of my DVD media. I don't see myself ever really using that because most of that stuff, if it's on DVD, it's available online on the cloud, so to speak. VHS is like, for example, I don't know where I'd find this original Man on Fire VHS with Scott Glenn, or the film. I don't know where to find that online, because you look for that, you're going to come up with the most recent version. But I digress. It's been a crazy week. Hope you guys are doing amazing. I tell you what, the weather in this part of the country has been exceedingly hot. I actually, for the first time ever, have a pretty beefy heating and air system at home, but for the first time ever, I considered going and getting a air conditioner to actually put in the window of the upstairs bedroom, because like just the system gets overwhelmed when it's over like 96 for so long. So it's a bit of a hassle having to deal with that heat. And another thing it really affects is how much I can take Delilah outside on my days with her and play outside, because that's what we do. We don't just sit around watching TV. So this week was a little more of the watching TV than normal. And that was kind of a bummer, but it ultimately worked out. And also, like, the heat just really tires you out. Like my animals, I have a big dog, Cooper, that stays outside on the line during the day, and he comes in at night. But in the mornings, I'll put him out for like 30 minutes or so while I'm getting ready. And by the time I leave to go to work, he's ready to come back inside and get in his kennel, because he doesn't want to deal with that heat. All my cats are now outside cats, and they're all upset, all trying to get back in every time the door comes open. So that is a bit of a hassle, but trying to deal with it. As far as movies, still haven't seen the Thor picture, although it crossed my mind to go see it, but I just didn't do it. There's so many great things that I want to watch. Did try the trial of Full Moon, and I think I'm probably going to cancel that trial before it charges, because looking at subscriptions through Amazon Prime, which is sort of like the hub that I use for Roku, it's tough with Roku because my son has a login. Sometimes it gets on that, and I won't know exactly what's been subscribed to on my account. I like handling all that through Amazon Prime. So, but I was going to say AMC looks like a better subscription, way more stuff that I watch. Full Moon, I get a lot of enjoyment out of those old films like Subspecies, Puppet Master, all the Transfers, Doll Man, you name it. They have some more modern series where they brought back Elvira for like 12 Days of Halloween or 11 Days of Halloween, whatever. Those are kind of cool. Watch those, and then she'll be like covering some Full Moon movie. I just have a lot of love for Full Moon, especially the video zones after those. But the Full Moon, like any other company that puts out that much material, there's a lot of not great content. And where they started losing me, it's like if they get into the TNA stuff, that's like maybe as a young man I would have cared more about that. But like right now, I'm going to try to watch this stuff with my wife. She's not going to sit through something like that. So they did have a great film called Dead and Buried, which we watched the other night, and actually was surprisingly good seeing it again. And I knew that my wife would never guess what was coming, so that was a lot of fun. It actually really surprised her. Then we watched a new series they've got called, I believe it's Barracuda Woman. There's 2 episodes of it. I mean, if I'd have been watching it with my buddies, it would have been one thing. I still wouldn't have gave it high marks, but it might have been a little more enjoyable. But watching it with Nancy, I had to deal with the constant complaint of the content, and ultimately probably won't follow that one forward. So the makeup was great, although the effects were kind of stupid. The CG was a little dumb. I got the strong impression that they never left the studio in Los Angeles. Literally every set was just that, like, they're in a bar, oh, they're in a hotel, oh, they're in a swimming pool. And the only time that you see them supposed to be outside, it's clearly a green screen. So I don't know that I'll follow through with that, but there are some other things on there I do want to review. Meridian is an old film I really loved, that's on there. So I'll try to watch that one this week. And then, of course, I have a ton of those in my VHS archive. Dr. Mordred, one of my favorites. All the Reanimator films. Going to be getting into those a little bit more as I have the time to in the evenings after work, if it's not too doggone hot, because it has been really stinking hot. But I digress. It's another week, and it's going to be a really exciting week because I got to jam in some extra practice, probably do some work on multiple projects, but also practice with Harrison on Wednesday night. And then we have a performance on Saturday night. Usually when we have performances on Saturday nights, we just take Sunday completely off. So kind of looking forward to that. And I think we're going to be getting a couple of pet turkeys. More on that later, but if you want to look at Albemarle Nutrition's Facebook page, you will see when we got visited by a local tame turkey, and that kicked off this whole thing where people were like, oh, so you like turkeys. So some guy came in here and said, here, I wrote this book on heritage turkeys. Here you go. And I've got 2 that I'll sell you for pets. So it's just one of those things that I'm all about, things that are going to enrich Delilah's childhood. And something tells me this would. I just got to make sure that I have a chicken coop at home, but like I've lost a lot of chickens. It's a little ways from the house. So I want to maybe purchase one that I can put right beside the house and be able to move around in different spots on the ground. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, turkeys. I don't know what I'm going to call them. I'm thinking about naming them after my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I don't know. Maybe not, since the mother-in-law is not around anymore. Maybe after my parents, Loy and Gertrude. So anyway, that's what's coming up for the week. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good one. Been dabbling back into my dad's studio art work here lately. Oh, another great thing that happened to me this week. So various channels that I watched, Corridor Digital, one of my good friends, Robert Fillion, and some other editors of video that I know have started talking about how Adobe Creative Cloud is not worth the subscription price anymore because they've stopped really updating and they've focused more on getting new softwares added. And so as a result, some of the mainstay cornerstone softwares have really suffered instability, like After Effects and Premiere. Now, I found this firsthand trying to, keep reopening and reworking on the files from our old lost film, C for Chaos. Everything perfectly in place, all the content there, but then it wouldn't fully render out things that were kept in After Effects compositions. And that really hurt me. I'm like, I did it the right way. I've been paying this all this time. It's like $600 and some a year. So I get on Creative Cloud looking to see if I can lower the amount that I'm paying out. And lo and behold, right there in black and white, it's got, hey, people, you can get it for new customers can get this, everything we got for, $39.99, which is $20 a month cheaper than I'm paying. So I got on the help there and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go and cancel this because that's not going to work for me. And I was already thinking I'm going to shift over and use there is a new editor. It's actually not new, but it's supposed to be really stable. Gosh, the name is escaping me right now. I'll mention it when it comes back to me later. But yeah, my friend Robert is using it and he's saying, it's completely free. It'll do everything Premiere will do and then some. And so it started me thinking, do I really have to have all this software from Adobe since it doesn't work together that well anyway with regards to stability issues? Maybe I could learn this Vegas or I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, and then just find just play a lesser price for just Photoshop or find a Photoshop clone. I edit these podcasts on Adobe Audition because it's in that tool set, but apparently there's free things out there that I can edit that with as well. And, it'll be all hunky-dory, and I won't have to pay this $56 a month every single month. So anyway, long story short, I get on support, and I express my concerns. And they'd agreed to give me a year plus 3 months at $29 per month, which is even better than the new user deal. So it's like I get a little something for having been a client for so long and subscriber for so long. And that's made me happy for now. So I've cut back my expense going out to that. And, I'll either try that again next year or I will actually shift off of it. Or maybe they'll get it back together and the software will be worth the price. Who knows? But on the render front, there have been a lot of massive releases of sets that I've found sort of attractive. And I've kind of gotten back into doing some renders for fun, making some little comic strips for fun, 3D, of course. And maybe I'll have some of that I can share via the podcast very soon. Who knows? Who knows what tomorrow will bring? I'm just happy to see what comes. And anyway, going to cap this one off this week, guys. It's number 5. Can you believe it? We've been through 5 of these. We'll see if this starts propagating on iTunes as expected. Otherwise, I might have to go with a different plugin on my host, but hopefully it will. And yeah, you guys will see me very, very soon on iTunes and some of the other Spotifys and whatnot. Until next week, guys, keep on reaching for the stars, but keep yourself grounded, and you know the deal. Keep on trucking. I'm going to use every tagline I can think of from the YouTube guys that I watch. So yeah, it's going to be a good one. Have a feeling it's going to cool off. Things are going to be great. We got some new mood lighting set up on our deck out front of Albemarle Nutrition. It's been beautiful. I can control it all with my iPhone. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. You guys have a great week.